Welcome to the Small Business Safari, where I help guide you to avoid those traps, pitfalls, and dangers that lurk when navigating the wild world of small business ownership. I'll share those gold nuggets of information and invite guests to help accelerate your ascent to that mountaintop of success. It's a jungle out there, and I want to help you traverse through the levels of owning your own business that can get you bogged down and distract you from hitting your own personal and professional goals. So strap in, adventure team, and let's take a ride through the safari and get you to the mountaintop.
I think it's recording, Alan. I think we're going.
I didn't hear the
It's
lady talk.
only 4.5 years that we've been doing. Actually, coming up 4 3/4 years we've been doing this, people. Man, we're trying to get everybody up that mountaintop. We're trying to get everybody to be successful, keep going up things, and we're coming off a big time here at the Trusted Toolbox, Alan. We had our strategic planning meeting today, and I know you have a thought on that.
For you.
It was a group growth. It was awesome.
Big waste of time.
That's what I wanted to hear, Alan. So. You were channeled in our meeting because I said, I've been doing this now, the toolbox for 18 years, but by the time I had enough, I guess, if you will, people that were in our office to start doing strategic planning meetings, it's been about, I was trying to figure that out. I think like 9 years, not fully 10. And every time I have them, Alan's like, well, that's a stupid waste of time because nobody ever remembers it. So that first thing I
say that now your strategic planning meetings don't really include your employees.
I only included the office staff and my tech advisory board. So my technicians out in the field were not there.
Okay.
But
a representative sampling.
I did. I took a representative samples of the ones that I knew would say, wow, that's a great idea, Chris. So that's what I got them all in the room, John. That's what I did.
Nice.
So we get them together, and our theme, one of the things that we do with all of our training is we always tell a story first to get people engaged, then deliver the message with the hook. And today, what we talked about, because our word of the year, which I'll give to you in a minute, was
proctologist.
No, it was
colonoscopy.
Do your damn job.
Yeah.
It was get back to work, you losers. No, you can't do that. Yeah. Oh, this is a good one. I'm glad you said that. So what did we do? We had a 20-minute video that was narrated by my general manager, Kirk, about Mount Everest and cresting Mount Everest. I will give you the short story. Do you know that you have to go up 3 other mountains and prove that you've done it before you can even attempt going to Mount Everest? You have to buy a license for $11,000 just for the privilege to go up there. Then you have to buy a Sherpa package, which this is the best. It could be a $30,000 package, an $80,000 package, or a $150,000 package. And the $30,000 package says more risk.
I was going to say, I think that's one of those times where you don't want to skimp.
You know what? You go with the highest bid on that one. Here's the other thing we learned about Mount Everest is that it takes about 2 to 3 months to get there if you can. Only 6,600 people have ever gotten to the top. And on doing it, do you know that they have to go over to base camp? So first you have to land on an airport that is cut into the mountain, which is scary enough as it was in the video.
I'm out.
Oh, yeah. And then you have to hike up to base camp, which takes 8 to 10 days where you get acclimated. Now, here's the thing that's interesting. I did not know this. Do you know they go up to Camp 1, and then they go up, down, then they go back up to Camp 1, back down, up to Camp 2, back down again, and then go back up?
Why?
Because they've got to keep getting acclimated. Because the final steps at the peak of Mount Everest, that they say the final summit, you have to take 10 breaths for every step you take because your body is basically shutting down as you do this. Now that leads us to the question, John, why would you do that?
I've got a friend that's done it 3 times. Great guy, but a little bit off, right? I mean, you can't be normal and do that. A lot of us have life to live. So I don't have a strong enough why, Chris. I'm not in.
I'm not in either. So we laid that out, but literally one of the 2 pictures we showed in the video that he put together were 2 dead bodies.
I was going to say frozen corpse.
It was. Do you know why? Because you can't bring them back. You can't bring them down. You just put the flag over top of them and keep on walking. And so
Can't you just give them a little nudge and they slide down?
No, that's what I thought. Can't you just use them like the Grinch and Grinch Stole Christmas, just slide down the sled? So it's an amazing story when you talk about it. Well, what it did tell us about was teamwork, dedication, determination, having a goal. You don't have, not only do you have to have the right tools, the right equipment, but you have to show the skills, and you've got to do practice those skills to do that. So our word of the year at the Trusted Toolbox is ascend.
I was going to say, what does Mount Everest have to do with a colonoscopy or the enema that you're giving your employees?
Oh, yeah. So they all told me it was a great word, of course. Thank you, Alan.
That special team.
And here's what I did. I said, listen, I've been doing this now for a little less than 10 years. And one of the people that I know quite a bit, that you all know, who is on my podcast way too often, that's you, Alan. And I said, he says there's no value in this. I said, you know what? I started looking at it and like, why do we do this? And so instead of me giving you a bunch of words, I'm going to have you write one business goal and one personal goal that you want to achieve this year. And I don't care if it's with the Trusted Toolbox. I just want one. And so I made them go do one each, and then a skill they'll build, a habit they'll develop, and what they'll do to be a better teammate. Then what they didn't know is I made them go around the room and do it. I had tears in the room, Alan.
Really?
3 different people broke down as they were giving their goals.
Really?
That's right. Because it was that visceral. How about that, Alan? How about that for strategic planning, buddy?
Yeah, well, it's still a complete waste of time unless you follow up with it.
All right, so here's what I did. I said, we are on the AI wave, people. We're never going to be in front of it, but we're always going to be behind it. It's just a matter of how far behind we are. So I told them what I took all their goal sheets, I've uploaded it to ChatGPT, and I have now created a spreadsheet so we can track them and track their progress towards them and go back and review that with them over the year.
All right.
Okay?
We'll
Did
see.
I win?
Yeah, we'll see. Well, maybe I'll put a little calendar reminder to just follow up and see. And you're like, what meeting?
All right.
What was
There it is,
what was-
everybody.
What was my word?
The word of the year is ascend. And my goals for this year were not to lose weight. My personal goal was golf related. Thank you. Yep.
right.
I'll get my handicap down. All right, guys, we got Jon Ostenson on FranBridge Consulting. He is a repeat guest, but you'd have to go way back in the archives to find him. It was in 2022. He didn't even have his book published when he came and talked to us before. He is a fellow Atlantan. He has chosen not to come see us in person because he's too busy to come see us down here in the bar. And he was probably afraid he was going to do a tiger thing and probably drive back and flip somebody over or kill himself. So we didn't want to do that either.
So he's smart.
So he is smart. He definitely is smart. I mean, he's got a lot of those accolades behind him too. And the ink, is it 500 or 5,000?
5,000.
Nice. I like how you covered up the 0 at the end.
It's like ink 50 is what it looks like.
Yeah, he's ink 50. He could be ink 5. He may be ink 5, everybody. Jon, welcome back to the show, man. How have you been?
Hey, Chris, doing great. So many ways I can go with this conversation, but yeah, excited to be back with you. Your hair looks great.
Thank you. I just had it done.
Yeah, it's been a fun couple of years, but yeah, I'd say AI would be our word for the year, and certainly integrating it in the business, but it's also driving business. We've got so many people reaching out to us saying, "Hey, our job's insecure. We're being asked to do more with less," or "I really don't want to be at the forefront of this AI revolution that I'm being asked to. I just want an understandable, tangible business." And so it's really a fascinating landscape out there, and we get to see it on the front lines of a lot of folks in corporate America, a lot of folks with different backgrounds saying, "Hey, maybe now's the time to step into business ownership, into something that's tangible and real." So yeah, excited to be with you and happy to take the conversation wherever you like.
We got to drop the name of his book because I love it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Non-food franchising, which means do not buy a Subway franchise, which means do not buy a food franchise, anything with food, restaurants. No, non-food franchising. That's the title of this episode.
You probably could have condensed it a little bit, but yeah,
we
it's a
have
great
got
title.
we have got nothing against the food guys. We love them. One of the largest QSR CEOs is a good friend of mine. I was with him last weekend. Nothing against those guys, but my humble belief is there are easier ways to make money. There are opportunities out there that may require fewer employees, less operating hours, maybe less susceptible to consumer whims, less CapEx. So again, nothing against the food guys, but when I say the F word, franchise, people usually think food, and yet there's so many other industries out there.
Yep, there are so many, and I know we talked about this back in 2022. Don't forget to go check out those archived episodes, everybody. They're out there in your podcast player. But we're gonna go back and refresh a little bit. So I know you had a background in that world before you started FranBridge, and now you've been at FranBridge for over 7 years.
Yeah, great memory. So,
Yeah.
Spent many years in the corporate world, like so many out there, and very thankful for the run. But stepped into franchising just about a decade ago, and had the opportunity to lead Shelf Genie franchise system and support all of our franchisees across North America, and really fell in love with the franchise model, and just saw how all these diverse backgrounds could come together under a shared system of support. And long story short, fell in love with the model, went out, bought franchises myself, so I still own a handful of franchises on the franchisee side, and started the consulting practice right about 7, 8 years ago, and been able to help a couple hundred people step into business ownership, which I'm really proud of. So love educating, love exposing people to what I feel is a better path to business ownership for many.
All right, let's go explore this a little bit more. So you had said something, and everybody wants to kind of pulse on the economy. What's AI doing to me, and is AI going to eliminate my job? Have you seen that start to drive interest in the franchising business, and people are interested in saying, "I'm ready to step out"? You said it, but tell us a little bit more about how detailed it is.
Yeah, 100%. No, we all read the articles in the Wall Street Journal literally almost every day about AI displacing jobs. And you've got CEOs of Fortune 1000 companies becoming more and more bold in how they're talking about the future for their workforce. And, we've seen a lot of interest even prior to the AI wave. I think coming out of COVID, a lot of people had questioned the path they're on. They said, maybe now's the time to step out. So everyone has their own incremental situation, but, in timing. But it's absolutely driving people. And whether they say it point blank, which many of them do, others kind of hint around it. Others are just tired of traveling. They want to be at home with their family, or they've done well, but they've helped build someone else's empire, to be cliche, and they're now ready to build their own and show their kids what it's $1 million idea. And they say maybe a franchise having the training wheels and that system of support can help me get in the game and help me build that platform for the next season, knowing down the road I could always buy businesses, I could always start businesses, but why don't we start with the franchise and really kind of get our sea legs in business ownership?
So the marriage of franchisee to franchisor is such a complicated one, as we've talked to so many people on this and talking about that. As you help broker that marriage, as it were, what do you coach your franchisee potential? What do they need to do? What are the common misconceptions that they have going into this?
Yeah, franchising's like every other industry out there in that you've got thousands of players, and some are really strong and provide great support and some don't. So, it is almost like a marriage, you want to pick the right mate out of the gate. And so some of the things we look at, I mean, candidly, if a franchise is a household name, it's never going to, there's not going to be open territory most likely in your market. And I mean, some of these businesses, say insulation, that's a $50 billion a year industry. It's never going to be a household name, right? And yet there are franchises in that space. So I think end of the day, it's all those other things that matter that come with the franchise outside of the brand. And so it's really having a home office team of support, someone that you want to go to bat with. And I encourage them, these are oftentimes more emerging brands. They haven't been around forever. That's why they still have territory for you to buy into. And so we like to see on that leadership team, not only industry experience, but also franchise experience. We want to see that they brought in talent around them to support the franchisees, people that have been there, done that, supported successful franchisees in their past. So there's a little bit of art, a little bit of science to it all. We're looking at the financial model, we're looking at the competitive advantages, we're looking at what are current franchisees in the system saying about their experience. And then, what's really interesting, Chris, is some people we work with say, hey, we want to be passionate about the business. Others say, hey, I'll sell whatever if I can make $1 million a year, right? I'll be known as the porta potty king at the cocktail party if I can make $1 million a year, right? Other people say, no, that's not me. So, we try to understand where they're coming from, what matters most to them, and then match them up with the top opportunities in their market.
That's so interesting, the porta potty king. Yeah.
Well, we've had a poop scoop franchisee or franchisor, right?
Yeah, right. He turned his franchise into a franchise system. Yeah.
It's a high margin business right there.
High margin. There's just so
and the unfortunate thing was, and he's probably not listening. He didn't have fun with it.
No,
on the pod. I mean,
could've.
Chris and I were just like, 12-year-olds.
We
were
were.
ready with the jokes.
We did.
And there was no joy in that.
We were 12-year-old boy humor, and he wasn't digging it.
No.
But it's interesting as you because you said I love to educate, and so when somebody comes to your door and starts talking, hey, I'm Pat. So you get them through those questions, and you're like, hey, no, I got to be passionate about. No, I want to make $1 million. I mean, and that one right there would probably be my flag. I'd go, hey, bro, let's slow your roll here. You're not going to supplant your income in a year. It's still a startup.
Yeah.
What have you found have been the biggest misconceptions that people come out doing? Is it the money? Is it the work that they have to put in?
Yeah, money, and sometimes that goes both ways. Some say, "Hey, I don't expect to break even until year 3." I'm like, no. In most models, you should break even within 6 months, maybe 12 months at most. And by break even, I mean having a monthly P&L that's positive, right? You're in the black, you get the oxygen of profitability. I'd say a misconception is that the franchise is going to run itself. I tell people that, hey, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. There's a reason why you have the potential for outsized returns. It's because it takes some degree of effort. It's not just a real estate syndication or a fund that you invest in. Instead, you have to put some legwork in. Even if you start with an operator in place, and about half of those that we work with do put an operator in place day one that's going to run the day-to-day. And I never sugarcoat it with people. It takes work still. If you don't have the right operator, you're going to find yourself leaning in a lot. Now, if you do have the right operator and you've got a good franchisor on the sidelines supporting them, it can be pretty hands-off. I mean, I know from firsthand experience and from countless client case studies, but it comes down to having a good person in that seat.
But that's kind of a mistake, don't you think? I mean, you've got to know the business. And no matter who you hire, they're not going to care as much as you.
Yeah, no one's going to run it like the guy with the skin in the game. So no, absolutely. You've got to, especially early on, manage them closely, but sometimes they do allow that operator to have skin in the game. And so whether it's, they earn sweat equity, whether they put in a little bit of capital themselves, which is great. Some people are very open to opening up the cap table. Others say, hey, I'd rather incentivize in a similar way to equity, but not actually, and so it's all about setting the right expectations with the candidate that you bring in, but then also setting the compensation plan. And if it's the right person and they're hungry, it can work. Just like any role out there. But if they're not hungry, if they're not self-motivated, you're going to be leaning in until you find the right person.
So I'm on the Allen side of this equation, because when I started my business, I was, as I said this morning too, when I first opened my business, I was the person answering the phones. I was the scheduler. I was the estimator. I was the lead technician. I was the helper. I was the billing person. I was the invoicer and the chief marketing officer, among other that. Did I have enough going on? But I felt like I had to know my business from the ground up. Now, after 18 years, I get where you probably didn't need to put that sweat in that I did in the beginning, but I felt like that's the only way I could have really understood it. When you grab a corporate exec who says, hey, John, I'm done. I'm done with this. I want to stop traveling. I'm going to buy a franchise, sit back and watch it just print money. Because that's one of the things I have seen where people fail, is that they feel like if I buy into a franchise, I don't have to do any work. I don't have to understand the systems or what's going on in the day-to-day work. Have you found that you can be successful that way, but you're still telling them, hey, you got to get back to work?
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think every situation is so different, right? And part of it depends on the franchise model and how much support's providing. I mean, some of them do the invoicing, some of them do answer the call, some of them are driving all the appointments, right? So you have to understand what roles are actually needed. And yeah, I firmly believe no one's going to run it like the guy with the skin in the game. But sometimes the guy with the skin in the game is the doctor, and the doctor's a physician, and he's got a lot of time, doesn't have a lot of bandwidth, and he probably wouldn't be a great business owner to begin with, right? But instead, he brings in his brother-in-law or someone that, the son of a colleague of his who's highly motivated, sets them up for success and allows the franchisor to kind of, I won't say manage them, but be the go-to for a lot of the daily questions. So again, I have a hard time with generalizations because I do see a lot, and I totally agree with you guys that in a lot of cases, someone wouldn't be set up for success with an operator. However, I see a bunch of case studies of clients of mine where they made it work by having the right person in that seat. And oftentimes they have a history with that person. I'd say that's a little hack as well, someone that's earned their trust. I think of my client, Nathan. I mean, this is kind of a further down the line example, but He's the largest franchisee of 2 minute a truck moving service. He operates in about 12 markets. Started out with one, over time bought other franchisees in the systems, does about 45 million a year in revenue. Well, he's built up this great organization of young folks he's met at his church or in his community. A lot of them have earned his trust, and he comes to me every year or two and says, John, I'm ready to put them in a position of leadership. What franchises do you like for me to offer to them? He'll open up the cap table, give them a good chunk, say, hey, go make us proud. And has had tremendous success doing that. But again, they had earned his trust already. So he didn't just find them, you know, on eHire or something like that.
Yeah, right. No, that's a great one too.
That's impressive.
That is very impressive. That guy. Wow, what a great deal. All right.
So I got a question. I've known a number of people who thought about getting a franchise, and the first thing they do is get online, and there's huge brokerages, consulting companies, whatever you want to call them out there that own the Google space. And how do people find you? Is it referral? And what is the unique experience they're going to get working with you?
Yeah, absolutely. No, if you go on Google, I mean, you're going to see every company putting their best foot forward, right? And there's a lot of noise. And even if you see a top 100 franchise list, most of the companies have actually paid to be on that list, right? It's a PR move for them. So just a lot of noise. It's entirely free to work with us. So if you were going to buy a house, you'd want to use a real estate broker in most cases, right? And someone that knows that area, that has relationships, and may even be able to see like behind the scenes of deals before they come online. And that's the role that we play. Our clients never pay us a nickel. We simply get a referral fee from the brands. It's a sales and marketing cost for them. We're part of the largest franchise network in the country, over 600 companies that we work with that are looking to expand. So, no, the way that we differentiate, I think, is just the relational side of it. I've been doing this for a while. I've been very blessed to build up a good reputation within the industry. I've got the relationships with all the franchise sales organizations. At the very top, I know most of the brands. And so oftentimes I'm leveraging that. And so I'm calling up all the time franchisors saying, hey, I know you've got 3 candidates in the pipeline for South Denver. Here's why my client should move to the front of the line. And oftentimes they want me to continue sending them great folks. And so they'll give me the benefit of the doubt there. Also, just seeing behind the scenes, I've been a franchisor, I'm a multi-brand franchisee. So I think having that experience that I bring to the table, just to, again, not sugarcoat it, because you'll hear a lot of messages out there. Like if you put an operator in place, they call it semi-involved or semi-passive. I call it, or I'm sorry, semi-absentee or semi-passive. I call it semi-involved. I think you've got to go in eyes wide open. We make sure our clients get all the franchisee validation calls ahead of time. And really go in eyes wide open to the opportunity to make sure it's a good fit for them. And where I get my validation is when they come back and they buy additional locations. They come back and buy additional brands. That happens all the time. I call it franchise stacking, or they come back and refer their brother to me. That's what keeps me going.
I think it's a huge differentiator that you were a principal or a franchisor and you own franchises, because so many franchise consultants, brokers that I know or know of, it's a franchise itself, and they've never been in business other than this one. And so you kind of have the ability to vet better, in my opinion, just because you've had to make that exact decision on, do I want to put my money with this horse, or does this organization have the support that I would want if I were a franchisee? And so my assumption is you're not going to place your people with any of these franchises just to make a buck, that you're not 100% confident in the direction it's going.
Absolutely. No, we're playing the long game here. And, I'd love to say our record is perfect. It's not, but it's pretty darn good. And I'd put it up against just about anyone else out there. And I share perspectives with our clients around. As an example, I had 10 clients buy into a franchise a couple of years ago, gutter installation business. 8 of them did really well. 2 of them had unique situations, and I think they provide learnings. In one case, he was a doctor, put an operator in place. The operator left, and he decided, I don't have the energy or the stamina to go find someone else and kind of help train them up. And so he said, I'm just going to essentially hand the keys back over. He may have sold at a loss. In the other case, this guy was a marketing guy, thought he would do really well in a service-based business, but franchising, was not the right fit for him. He thought he was the smartest guy in the room, no matter what room he was in. So he came in and didn't follow the system. And it sounds so cliche, but I tell my clients, there's a reason why you're getting into a franchise. Follow the system. Now, a good franchisor is going to allow you to, test different things. That's where the best innovation comes from. But end of the day, if you're not following the system and you're not someone, that people want to work for or work with, franchising is probably not your game.
No.
Right. Why are you looking at me?
No.
That's why I didn't do it.
Yeah, you would be a horrible franchisee.
I would be a horrible.
Chris would be terrible.
First of all, smartest guy in the room. Yes, check the box. I know I am.
But it is a problem in franchising. I mean, it's the challenge, I guess. I'll say it's the challenge because if you have the money to be able to buy a franchise, you've obviously been successful. You're the one making the decisions. And so everybody comes in and, they're feeling their oats and yeah, I'll follow the model. But then the marketing guy's like, I don't like your marketing, or the ops guy's like, I don't know, and they try to rewrite it from day one before they even try the model. And it happens every single time.
And what's interesting is what I found is we work with a lot of business owners. They come to us and say, hey, we're looking to build our portfolio. We're looking for an adjacent business. And I can give you examples of the placements we've done there, or I'm looking to diversify my holdings. A lot of business owners, would not be great franchisees, but the majority of them, I would say, would be great franchisees because they appreciate all the work that's been done. They like the fact they can step into a technology stack day one, that marketing's already been somewhat figured out. They don't have to learn the hard way on trial and error. They've got a lot of data to play with. They love that they're not by themselves. I mean, they've got a community of other franchisees. It's almost like a mastermind. And again, I hate generalizations. Not every franchise is created equal. But in those strong franchises, you can really benefit from having a sea of other people living the same thing day in, day out, exchanging best practices. So a lot of them really appreciate the franchise model for that second or third rodeo is what we found.
Yeah, I can see that helps a lot because for me, I'm in a mastermind group and you got a flock that you immediately get into of people who are sharing the same pains and tribulations that you have, but in different markets. But you're allowed to talk to people, just like we were talking as we got started on the pod. It's just hey, how's your business? How's my business? Da da da. So now I want to switch over to the franchise side. Which one should I buy? No, let's cut to the quick. So if you go out there and vet these people, you go out there and you talk to them. Like you mentioned, you've got a lot of relationships. What are some of the cool ones that you're seeing? Because they're obviously emerging, so we probably haven't heard of them yet.
Yeah, I'll just kind of give you a lay of the land and just some different example type opportunities. So we're seeing a lot of interest in things like home services and property services, which I know you would have a keen eye on, Chris. And within that, it's everything from cabinets to flooring to I've done several pool cleaning deals in the last couple of months. Things that are somewhat needs based in a lot of cases. Is one of the ones I'm invested in. It's asphalt paving and line striping. I mean, people love those non-sexy things. I've got another one that provides temporary containment walls around renovation projects and construction sites. Certainly restoration type work. Health, and we see a lot of private equity getting involved in home services too. That's a big area. Health and wellness. Certainly businesses that deal with longevity or different modalities around recovery. Anything senior related is really big right now, not just in-home senior care, but there's other ways to play the senior space like senior fitness, whether it be a standalone gym that caters to that population, or, we had some clients in Florida recently get into one that provides stretching and fitness services for senior facilities. So they'll go around, several times a week to different facilities. Anything related to kids or to pets, within the kids space, we've had so many clients do well with like youth soccer or tutoring, or there's a great one now. It's a driving school, teen driving school. So really the only player out there in that space that's a franchise. Another one that provides music lessons. So it's almost like you want one of these or one of these, all sorts of options. I'd say franchising tends to be a little more B2C oriented, just from a volume of opportunity standpoint. But at any given time, there's some good ones in the B2B services space. We've had clients get into freight brokerage, into insurance adjusting, into business coaching, cost mitigation for small and medium-sized companies. And then there are ones again, just those I joke that non-sexy is the new sexy when it comes to the type of business ownership. And so it's things like industrial hoses or, um, environmental testing, after restoration work's been done. All these niches. People love niches, is what I found. We're not showing home cleaning. We're not showing mosquito companies. We don't need any more of those, right? We need companies that specialize in the niches, that differentiate themselves, and that's where we like to play.
It does seem like franchises come in waves. I mean, there was way back the yogurt wave and then there was the burger craze. I mean, when I first moved to Atlanta, you couldn't find a burger. And now within 10 minutes of your house here, Chris, I mean, how many different high-end burger franchises are there?
They just put a Whataburger from Texas
and then
here in Atlanta.
In Johns Creek. Yeah, and then I don't know, 2 years ago in commercial real estate, all of a sudden we had a number of different franchise organizations reach out because they were looking for mental health franchises, and it kind of seems like it seems like somebody gets a good one and then they just get duplicated really quick, and I'm like, man, I don't know, it's like kill the goose that lay the golden egg real quick in franchising.
Well, you brought up the F word, food.
Food.
That's why we're the NF word. We're anti-food. We're non-food. Mm-hmm. But it's interesting. You actually, John, you hit a couple of things that I was told before I started too, is that you will find the riches in the non-sexy. And, I've got a number of guys who started their own business, not in franchises, but you named a number of ones where I think a lot of people go, asphalt paving, striping. I'm like, well, as a matter of fact, I know a friend of mine who bought into a franchise here in Atlanta in striping. I don't know how he's doing, but he's a very sharp dude. I'm sure he's going to figure it out.
There are a lot of parking lots out there.
There are a lot of parking lots that are desperately in need of repair and maintenance. You talked about home services. I think, excuse me, I get the hiccups going, Alan.
Why is that?
I'm getting nervous. What? Because
the answer I expected.
Oh, okay. So I just, when you look back on some of the, you talked about them already, that everything you just named cannot be replaced by AI. You can't. You can't just automatically go out there and asphalt pave something. You can't go out there and pick up dog's poop with AI. Can you?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe robots.
Robot poop getters.
That would be a good franchise.
I think if we can come up with a laser poop eliminator, that's what we could do, is just sit it out back. Unfortunately, what will probably go wrong is the kids go running out back. They maybe didn't clean up very well, and next thing you know, their asses are getting fried. Woo! So bad idea there, people. We're on to good ideas. So, John, you've seen the impetus, and you mentioned a number of different areas there. As you work with clients and you work on that marriage, what makes a good franchise operator? Not the franchisee, but the franchisor. You talked about that a couple times, but what makes them different? What makes them better?
Yeah, I think understanding that they're serving the franchisee, right? I mean, if they do it well, they're going to build up a company. They'll probably sell to private equity one day, have a nice exit. But I think I counsel a lot of emerging franchisors that, hey, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't bring on, the first people to say, hey, we're willing to sign with you, don't bring them on. Make sure you pick the right franchisees out of the gate. They're going to come in, set the tone, set the culture, set your item 19, which is financial representation. Be selective. People want franchises that are selective. They don't want one they'll just sign anyone. So, I get the right people in, and then, staff up and set the right expectations. I think where franchisors sometimes fall down is they lead people to believe they're going to provide a certain level of support, or they're going to put certain things in place in a given time frame, and then they don't follow through on that. And that's where, when I was a franchisor, if we were switching marketing vendors, or I wanted everyone to try a new program with our call center, I'd better first test that with a couple of franchisees that were influential in the system, get them on board, get them supporting the idea. If I just rolled something out, all of a sudden I'd have folks with pitchforks at my door knocking on the door, and all of a sudden it's like it keeps you in check. There's a check and balance here because there are a lot of franchisees. There's only one of you, and so end of the day, a good franchisor wants to keep the franchisees happy. They want to continue innovating and bringing new things to the market. What's neat is when you get a large enough coverage presence across the country, you can start building in national accounts. We see a lot of service-based franchises now that have enough coverage. They're saying, hey, let's go after some of those large retailers or those large property management companies and, build some business that our franchisees can draft off of. So, some of it depends on the industry, but end of the day, it's putting franchisees first. And I always love it. Oftentimes the franchisor is a former franchisee, or maybe their leadership team consists of former franchisees. I think that's a great idea when they do that.
That's great advice that I think a lot of people miss, and that's where Alan hit on this. I mean, obviously you've been around, you've been in the franchising world, you know how it works, you know where the pitfalls are, maybe you know where the bodies are buried, but finding people who are doing this, I think it's just really cool. Let's plug your book one more time, Non-Food Franchising. What's in the book? What can we expect to get when we read that book?
Yeah, it's 90 pages. It came out about 3 years ago. We've sold thousands of copies, but I've given away even more and would love to share a free downloadable copy with all of your listeners. If they come out to our website, FranBridgeConsulting.com, we'll reach out, share links to the book. But no, 90 pages in the book. I talk about, all things franchising, certainly share case studies. We talk about industries. We talk about the legal side of how to read the FDD. We talk about the funding options that you have, but then I also have a chapter that compares franchising versus startups. What are the trade-offs? Franchising versus entrepreneurship through acquisition, ETA. That's a popular idea in the market. I've got 4 different Harvard MBA clients right now I'm working with. All have been going down the ETA path for several years and finally came around and said, hey, I'm ready to get in the game. Let's get a franchise going. I'll acquire a business later. And so we talk about all those dynamics in about 90 pages. Not a lot of fluff, straight to the point.
Honestly, everything you just said in 90 pages, that's an easy read and a hard read, but at the same time, if you're really reflecting on it. Let's talk about that concept, entrepreneurship through acquisition, and why it's so hard for those guys to get into it.
Yeah, I got a note literally an hour ago from another guy. He's been looking for 3 years. He's like, hey, let's look at franchising. I've been looking for a company for 3 years. Buying an existing business can be a great proposition. Can also be a bad proposition in some cases, but it takes a long time in most cases. I mean, you're oftentimes spending several years. You're, doing due diligence. The deal doesn't shake out. Someone outbids you. The guy pulls the business off the market. It takes a long time. There are a lot of people looking. So I encourage people, that's time you could spend building a business. And that's one of the things I love about franchising. It allows you to get in the game, build a platform. You can still acquire a business down the road. You can, and a lot of people say, can I buy an existing franchise? And we'll do some of those resale deals, but usually there aren't that many good ones on the market because the good ones get bought by other franchisees in the system. They get first line of sight, that internal M&A, as I call it. So, once you're in a system, you can do what my 2-minute truck client did, buy other franchisees over time, kind of roll them up that way. And buying an existing business, it does carry risk. Yeah, there may be revenue day one. There may be a team in place. There's market awareness. Anytime that you inherit someone else's team, there's going to be a change in culture. When you have a change in ownership, you're going to lose some key employees in almost every situation, maybe key customers. And here you paid a premium for the business, assuming everything is going to stay the same. So, it may take a little more work with a franchise to stand one up there out of the gate, but I think the long-term play makes a lot more sense in a lot of cases.
Boy, he just made me think of a really good due diligence question, which is, have any of your franchisees been bought out by other franchisees? I mean, that's the ultimate validation.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right.
Never
The more you
thought
say
about that. That's brilliant.
So John had a great insight. That's why we bring great people on there. And he has better hair than we do. He's bringing the heat, man. FranBridge Consulting. John, what else haven't we talked about? I'm going to do that AI question. You know that, by the way? You go in there and go, what questions haven't I asked you about why my business is sucking so bad?
What does it say?
I can't tell you. It might be you, the guy typing the. I'm like, I don't like you anymore.
I'm going to try a different AI.
I'd say
I did. I went another AI. You're fine.
I think the only thing we haven't really touched on, which I'll hit on really quickly because we get this question a lot, is, hey, how do I pay for this? How much do they cost, right? And end of the day, I mean, I've got a lot of clients that are getting into things. They're 7-figure investments. I had a client recently buy 10 Sky Zones. Those are about $4 million each. That was a big deal. Most people, though, when you look at the franchise fee, startup costs, and several months of working capital, you're all in investment range. Oftentimes you're in the 150 to 300,000 range. If it's a service-based business, if it's brick and mortar, maybe 400,000 or 500,000. But SBA loans are incredibly common. Banks like lending to franchises. Retirement rollovers are popular. It's called a ROBS program. You can roll over an old 401k, purchase the business that way. So there are a lot of ways to get involved. Certainly HELOCs as well. So always work with our clients on those different options. We've got partners to help them with the funding as well.
Honestly, John had a better answer than ChatGPT did in AI. That was a great question. You're right. We didn't ask that because I think one of the things that really keeps people back, or people are afraid to give them the numbers. Well, how much is it really going to cost for me to do it? And
you can't answer it.
You can't.
I mean, there's the range in the FDD.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're steering a lot of people towards non-brick and mortar, which, the cost to entry is much lower. That is the downside on the restaurant piece is, you spend a ton of money before you have an opportunity to make any of it back.
Yeah, probably 2/3 of those that we work with are going with non-brick and mortar.
2/3. Interesting. Yeah, no, you're right. Because the rest of it, is trying to get back, like you said, you're trying to get back to break even, showing a profit, moving the profit, and then start working your way up the mountain. Because whether you franchise or go on your own, you still got to be the guy who's making it happen. And even if you have in Europe, you said, I think, semi-involved owner. I like that phrase as opposed to passive owner.
Yeah.
You've got to stay involved because that's the only way it works. You got to show them the skin. You got to show them where to go. You got to be able to show them what's happening. So that's great stuff. All right, I know we're coming to the end of the podcast. We got to go one more time. So, John, a repeat guest.
Yes, I know.
Huh? Pretty exciting.
Back in the old days.
Back in the old days when we were in the office and not using near as cool equipment as we are now, Alan.
No.
But still drinking that same bourbon. John, how does everybody find you besides FranBridgeConsulting.com?
Yeah, certainly come out to our website. Sure, the email address will send you a link to my calendar as well as to our book. But follow me on LinkedIn. I put a lot of content out there on a regular basis, and we get a lot of good feedback there. So yeah, just my personal name, Jon Ostenson, there on LinkedIn would be the best place.
Let's do it, guys. He's willing to put his name out there, willing to talk to you guys. I would say take this guy up. He's definitely a smart dude.
Download that book. That chapter on franchise versus startup versus acquisition just sounds really good.
Yeah, you can't chat GPT your way to that one. That's like going back to, I looked it up on YouTube. I can change a toilet. No, you got to go out and read this book, man. The guy knows it, been there, done it. Great to have him back on. John, it's been awesome, man. Thanks so much for coming back on the podcast. For the rest of us, keep working hard, man. And you know what? One of the things, even if you got your own business or maybe you're still thinking about one, if you got your own, another strategy we didn't talk about, you could have one, buy one. Nothing wrong with that. So call John, let him talk you up, figure out what's going on. Till next week, man, we got to keep rolling. We got to keep making money. We got to go out there and ascend the mountain for strategic planning brought to you by Chris. Thank you. Suck it, Alan.
Cheers, everybody.